Good day, good day, good day. My name is Forget About It. I'm here with DJ King Majesty, and we'd like to welcome you guys to another episode of Poppin Politics 2025. A whole new year of drama, and which can probably be more drama in the world of politics in the United States of America. What's good, DJ King Majesty?
What's going on, my brother, out here in sunny San Diego, California? It's been cold for us lately, but probably not cold for everyone else. Um, you said it, man. Drama. And 2025 has been kicked off, so we already know. Once this year is wrapped up, we know what's going to be the first month. When everybody looks back, you know how they talk about what happened every month. We know where they're going with that. So.
Most def. Man, I can't let that one slide. What's cold in San Diego, man? Like, what's that? 68, 70, what's that? 72?
um. Well, well, when I get up early in the morning, I get up. I'm outside about 6 in the morning, and man, it's been about 40 degrees, man, 45 degrees early in the morning. And then,
Okay.
after a couple hours, it heats up to probably 65 or so, But when it's 40, I'm freezing.
It was 16. What was
Woo!
this? What's today? Today's what? Wednesday. Wednesday? Yeah, today's
Yeah,
Wednesday. I would say it was 16. I want to say it was Friday. It was 16
no,
degrees with a wind chill that took it down to 9 degrees.
no, sir.
And then we had snow. You know what I'm saying? It was still snow on the ground. Like we got like I think
Yeah,
about
you,
3 or 4 inches
you
of
you
snow.
put me in 16 degrees. Somebody need to take me to the hospital.
It was cool. That was cool to get snow out this way. Though. Most definitely, most definitely. So with that, man, we back for 2025, and for the most part, we took a break because we wanted to take a step back and kind of see what direction things were going to kind of flow from a media perspective. Um, and as I'm seeing it from my standpoint, there are a lot of folks out there still beating the same drum that they were beating both during the election and prior to the election. And with that, um, that's not productive. The conversations that we want to have on Poppin Politics are about what we can do to move forward. And that does and will include having to work with Republicans, Republicans having to work with Democrats, um, both sides having to compromise on certain things. And at the end of the day, having to work with President Trump. He is the president, nonetheless. And
It
so with
almost comes
that,
across, it almost comes across like a lot of people in high places are like kind of want to stroke his ego, in order to get into the boys club type deal. I don't know if it's just my perspective, but that's how it looks to me.
I'm looking at it, I see that perspective, but at the same token, I'm looking at it as, you know, they are looking to push their own agendas, whether it
Right.
be business, from the social media platform perspective, whether it be Elon Musk or either Mark Zuckerberg. They each have their own individual platform they're trying to push. So whoever's in that White House, that's who they're going to cozy up to as much as possible to where it benefits them.
I
Um,
actually, I actually just saw something before we got started, Mark Zuckerberg, and they said that he's trying to, because Trump was suing him, and so he's trying to pay Trump off 25 million in order to drop the lawsuit.
Anything's possible in today's
Yeah.
politics. Um, that's all I can say about that one. Anything's
Right.
possible in today's politics, man. Nothing
I
was.
mean, it's just so unheard of to have stuff like that going on with someone who's the president, It's just like sounds like a movie.
I think it's different to see a private citizen like an Elon Musk, um, as close to the president as he is, and having the ear of the president as much as he does. That's
What they say,
different.
follow the dollar.
I can't say if
Follow the
that's
dollar.
it. At this point, I can't say 100% if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing.
I
Um,
mean, I see it as since Elon Musk has so much money that that's someone who Trump will align himself with. And then on the flip side, Trump gives Elon more power. So it's like it's a fit. It's a good fit for them too.
yeah, I can see that too. I can definitely see that too. It's going to be interesting to see how that friendship kind of moves forward, so to speak. Um, but with that said, like, where do you see the country today as far as post-election? You know, now that Trump's in office, we've gotten through the inauguration, so on and so forth. You know, you're on the West Coast, I'm in the South. Um, what do you see from your perspective as far as the tone of the country out there?
I see kind of a twofold answer for that. From one perspective, it seems like we've just gone backwards and we're back to where the division when everyone was fighting. You seem like you have Black Lives Matter over here, and then you have those who oppose kind of a black growth type movement. And so it seems like almost like black against white almost. But then that's one perspective that maybe the media might be putting out there. But then as far as day to day coming across people and talking to people, people are scared because they don't know what's coming. Uh, with Trump, you just don't know. You don't know. So if you're not in that mega wealthy club, then you're just hoping for the best right now, working hard, hoping for the best. It seems like it's a division. I think people are confused right now, so I think people are kind of just waiting to see what's going to happen.
I see that. I can see that. Out here, it's a bit different. Um, like in my general neighborhood, it's pretty mixed as far as Trump supporters and so on and so forth. Um,
Hmm.
Nothing like disrespectful or anything to that extent. You know, don't get me wrong. When someone like there's a couple of ranch properties around the corner where you have the huge Trump flags and all of that, but
Hmm.
nothing disrespectful, I should say.
Right,
Um, but I see it a bit different. Um, if anybody's scared because of the Trump presidency, I would have to attribute their fear to what they hear in the media.
right,
Um, because looking at the facts, and I'm not here to defend Trump by any stretch, you know what I'm saying? But if you look at the facts, he was president once for 4 years. The world didn't end, so to speak.
right.
You feel me? So he's back in office now. Um, and I'm looking at it from the standpoint of he's somebody who does not want to be associated with failure or anything
Right,
negative, if at all possible. He knows that this is his last 4 years. After this, he can't run anymore.
right.
So he's gonna. I'm maybe I'm being a bit optimistic, but I'm thinking that what he's gonna do is do his best to literally leave the country in a much better place than what it was when he found it.
I was
Uh,
actually going to say that same thing.
yeah, simply because
I
he doesn't
think,
want it to be less than because it'll be attributed to him at that point.
yep, because I heard people talking about his legacy, and that's what he's looking to set with this go round. So it may be it may be pretty rough, and there's going to be some off the wall stuff here and there just because of who he is. But I actually think he's going to do a better job than he did the first time. But it's just that he's such a wild card that you don't know for sure.
If you
You never know.
remove exactly, if you remove all the BS that comes along with everything Trump, all the drama, the insults, the foul
Right.
language, whatever the case may be, you take that away and just focus on what he's doing. You know, he's right as of right now, he's doing everything he said he was going to do on the campaign trail.
You can see that it's a little cleaner as far as the language and the just insults and stuff. It's a little cleaner.
Give
Um,
it, give it time. Give it time.
right, right. I think he just wants to attach his name to a bunch of stuff to make it appear like he's just the best thing since sliced bread. You see Russia's uh, definitely uh definitely wants to be associated with him, and they're saying that the war would have never gone on if and things like that with the Ukraine war. And so I think he just wants to do some big things that the world is talking about and have his name attached to it, so it comes across as if he's the man.
And with that, you know what?
And if
I
he
don't,
fixes things, then fine, you know.
and that's where I was about to go with it. I'm like, at the end of the day, if he wants to attach himself to something that actually solves an issue, fixes something, helps people, so be it. I can care less about that.
Absolutely,
Just
absolutely.
fix, take on the
That's
big
what we want.
issues. But
That's what
see,
we want out of a
I,
president.
I want a president who's going to go out there and take on the big issues, not the small things, try to get small wins or not have enough political power to get the big things done. With from his standpoint, as it stands right now, Trump has, at least in my lifetime, more power than any president in my lifetime that I've ever seen. And when I
No
say
question.
power, I mean, you have your standard presidential powers, but
Right.
when he's, as far as his party's concerned, when he speaks, they're gonna jump no matter
Absolutely.
what, without question. There might be one or two that don't, but for the most part, they're gonna jump. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like he runs his presidency like a dictatorship. It doesn't feel, it doesn't have the same feel that other presidencies had.
Nah.
He comes across as like a business owner who's running a corporation, and you could be fired at any time.
No, he already, they were saying in the news that basically the message from the White House was to any senators or Congress people that didn't cooperate and go along with what it is they were trying to do. Basically, they were going to get primary. If you don't do what we tell you to do, we're going to primary you, which means we're going to run somebody else against you in your district, and you're going to lose. We won't send
Right.
you any, and we also won't give you any money.
Right.
So
And see, that's the thing. That's the thing that you have to think about, where on one hand, yes, he's thinking about his legacy, but on the other hand, we all know that he's about power and money.
yeah,
So if I'm like, if he can make those come together and maybe do it for the good, then great. But if it was one or the other, which way do you think he'll go? It seems like he's about power and money. It seems like that would trump anything for him. It seems like, I don't know.
we'll see. You know what I'm saying? Again, from my standpoint, I'm just going to be optimistic. It's too much
Right.
energy to sit and be negative for the next 4 years. You know what
That's
I'm
for
saying?
real.
It takes too much energy. And at the end of the day, it's all about us as individuals taking care of our respective families and controlling what's going on in our respective communities and keeping it at that.
Right.
Whatever's going on in Washington, don't get me wrong. There's some things that will and do affect us, but for the most part, you know,
Have you looked
like
into or heard anything about what he's doing with the federal employees? What's going on with that guy? I'm
from
not
what
really
I,
sure,
from
but
what I understand, I want to say they have basically they're pushing a lot of them out, forcing a lot of them to retire, um, doing buyouts, I think in some cases as well. But basically, the objective is to trim government. If they feel that there's, too many people doing the same job, which it's government, I'm sure there is at some
right.
levels, they're basically pushing those folks out the door. And then,
Okay.
yeah,
Um, okay, so that doesn't sound so bad to me, but it makes me question the ethnicities. I'm like, okay, is it more blacks being pushed out, or is it equal? You know, that
right.
makes me wonder. Like,
Well,
is that really what you're doing, or are you getting rid of color?
no, from my standpoint, I'm thinking again, going back to what he said on the campaign trail, they want to trim government. Um, Government is too big. That's just a fact. You know, they found I forget. I saw something on the internet where I was reading where they were funding a study. It was like $900,000 a year to study the effects of bubble wrap on
Wow.
stress. You know,
Right.
um,
That
but
seems
that's the
like
kind of
legal. Yeah, yeah,
That
legalized robbery is what that stuff is.
that kind of, stuff like that. And it's government, and it's gone on for decades. This isn't just something
Right,
that happened during the Biden administration,
right.
you know what I'm saying? So there's no telling how much waste is out there like that. So, you know,
What do you think about how he is kind of fighting with other world powers and saying that if you don't basically get in line with how we want to do things, we're going to either charge you a whole lot more or we're going to cut you off in some sort of way. I
I
seen him
agree with,
talking with Colombia.
but see, I think of it like this. Would people be as critical of what's being said if it wasn't coming from him? You feel me?
Maybe
So,
not.
but the way he comes across is really abrasive. There's no there's no cushion to when he speaks. There's no softness. There's no
Yeah,
being
with that,
PC.
with that, the way that he goes about it, he makes me feel like he makes me uneasy. Where it's like somebody might want to come at us because just because of the way how he goes about it.
Now, nobody, for the most part, I'll say this: nobody's going to come at us like that. That
Not with him in there because they know he'll press the button.
that too. But just in standard, nobody's going to go against the U.S. in that fashion directly. That just wouldn't be smart, you know.
That's the one. That's one benefit that I'll say to having him there, because I think everyone thinks that he would press the button, and they don't want that type of smoke and get blown off the map, and he's the guy that'll do it.
He already said before he even came into office, I think it was like about 2, 3 weeks before the inauguration, somebody was asking him something, and he said, "Yeah," and I already told him if they don't get those hostages, getting them home quickly, all hell's gonna break loose. Point blank, period.
I saw that.
I'm like, okay, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. But with that said, I want to put something out there to you, and let me know what you think about it.
All right.
There's since day one, since Trump announced that he was going to run for office, people have started going against him. He does things that are really unorthodox as far as the way he goes about business, especially being in politics. Um, I'll just get to the point. What if he is what we would call, I guess, the disruptor in chief, meaning that is the reason why Washington hates him so much is because he isn't part of the standard circle of those that would run typically at that level of politics. Um, is it because again he doesn't come from that same lineage as far as those that have been president before, or senators or congress people, so on and so forth. Um, what if he is actually the person that's supposed to come along and actually break the system that actually fixes the system? What if those that have been there before him, excuse me, have actually been there just to further perpetuate a system that, in essence, keeps 99.9% of the citizens at a certain level? And it's gone on for decades upon decades upon decades, if not hundreds of years, since the country's inception, basically. Um,
Right.
but honestly, and again, it not even being from a conspiracy, that type of thing, but just what if though? Because again, things right now are so different than what they've ever been before. You
Right.
have to sometimes take a step back and just kind of really look at it from a holistic standpoint and be like, you know what? You have to look at this from different angles. You can sit here and be mad for the next 4 years because your person didn't win and just sit there and be disgruntled and just criticize and criticize and criticize and put all the energy into that. Or you can take a step back and really look at both sides. What did this side really do to win your vote? Did they really do what it took to win your vote? Or did you just vote for them because you didn't like the other side?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And just really break it down. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way I'm looking at it. Again, anything is possible this day and age based on
Yeah,
playing the play.
it's like you're gonna have to see what happens in order to answer that because we don't know what he's gonna do. We don't know what results he's gonna get. But
Right.
I think because of kind of how what you alluded to, because of how he's so unorthodox in the way he goes about it, you know, and people are always gonna resist change, especially when the perceived change is not making sense, you know. So if he comes with and gets some great results, I'm not mad at him, you know,
Yeah.
but the way that he goes about things and as a black man, it doesn't feel like he's for me. It feels like he's okay with me not doing well. Just personally, that's how I feel about it.
I'll ask you this then on that very point right there that you just stated. When you said that, is it the fact that the a lot of the people that follow him seem to be, let's call it racially biased,
say,
racially
say,
biased. Um,
say it like it is.
let's call it racially
Because
biased.
because
Uh,
they white, because they white, and we're not against white people as a
right.
whole,
But I'm
but
saying though, but real talk though, is that the reason why you feel that way? Is because you see the Confederate flags and all of that, or what has again? Just trying to be real direct about it. What has he done directly that would lead you to believe that he feels that way today? And again, everybody says, okay, the Central Park Five thing, everybody goes back to something that happened back in the 70s and early 80s. But today, and again, I'm not
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
defend
yeah,
anybody. I'm just asking the question because I just want clarity on it.
right.
What is he doing today that makes you feel that way?
He's not doing anything to help black people, but his track record has been harming black people. Just his long track record. His father was Klan. Uh, he had the condos where he didn't want black people in his condos. You know, that was a long time ago. But what is he doing to make it not look that way?
But
Other
but
than
did you know in his first term, no, he signed an, I forget, I think it was called the First Step Act.
that's
I
what I was.
forget which act it was. He signed an act that basically freed
Yeah,
several
yeah.
thousand black men from
I didn't
prison.
know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I
Well,
didn't know that.
men in general, but a lot of us, you know what I'm saying?
See,
We're in that,
everything
was the numbers.
it's so bad that everything he does, I'm like
It's
he has ulterior motives. I just don't
right.
try. I
And
don't
see,
trust that man.
but that's why also after the election, that's why I took a step back because if and it's easy to happen. You get so
Yeah,
caught up in what you're hearing in the media, what you're hearing from the people around you, that you just
true,
find yourself with that tunnel vision of I'm this side and that's their side. You know what I'm saying? And all that does is kind of feed into what the media wants. Because again, if everybody got along and everybody was all hunky dory, the media wouldn't have a story half the time. You feel me?
true.
And from the politician standpoint, if everybody got along, really understood, and just really discussed things as citizens, and they weren't so divided, a lot of them wouldn't even have jobs a lot of times. You
See, I
know?
kind of felt like this about him, where so you have when you have presidency, you know, I hear people talk about the what I was gonna say, the not the politics. What did you guys say? The policies. So, you know, everyone is saying policies, policies. Okay, I get that because that's where you're gonna get some change at. But I kind of take it from another standpoint of just your character and if you're a good person or not. And so if your policies are better, say let's say Trump against Biden, and let's say Trump has the better policies, but let's say he's a shitty person and Biden has maybe not as good policies, but he's a good person. I'm going with the good person because I just don't trust a bad person in that powerful position.
And I challenge you on that too, to where Biden's hands are not clean. Um,
Absolutely.
The only difference between Trump and everybody, and I'm not here to defend, I'm about to say this again.
No,
I'm not
no,
here to
no, it's
defend
cool.
Trump. But the only difference between Trump and everybody else is Trump wears his on his sleeve. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't
Well,
try to hide who he is by any stretch of the imagination. Um, and so with that, he's really abrupt as far as how he speaks and also with his actions. Whereas you have politicians like Joe Biden who have done a lot of things behind closed doors. He was one of the huge proponents of the man, I'm drawing a blank. The
yeah, he
the
sent a whole bunch of black
the,
people to
yeah, the,
jail.
the the penitentiary piece back in the late '90s or the mid '90s
Right.
that sent a lot of the a lot of black males to prison and brown males to prison for that matter. So his hands aren't clean. You know what I'm saying? And so with
Absolutely,
that,
absolutely not.
at this
But
point,
you only have two choices. So if you got two dirty people and and one is I was gonna use a crazy analogy, but I don't know if I want to go that route. But if you have two people and what are you gonna do if you got two bad people? But
I'm gonna go for the person that show. I'm gonna go. Honestly, I'm gonna go towards the person that's showing me exactly who they are, versus the person over here who's trying to put forth the face to get my vote. You feel me?
well, I
I,
agree. I agree with that, but it also and maybe it's a good acting job, maybe it's good placement, but it appears as if Joe Biden is more for black people than Donald Trump is. But like you said, maybe it's just because one is lying and one is just like straight up in your face.
and I'm looking at it from this standpoint too, as a whole, man. I'm like, you know, again, a big reason why a lot of us are Democrats today is because our parents were Democrats, our
That's a fact.
grandparents, our great
Right.
grandparents, so on and so forth. It isn't necessarily because the Democrats have done some bang up job as far as uplifting our communities. And I've mentioned this to you before, I believe, where I said that
Yeah.
if you look at the programs that are out there, the social programs that are out there in the country, um, a lot of them are more like quicksand and need to be more like springboards. You feel me? It's just like when
It's
Republicans
almost
say,
it's
or
almost like a lose-lose situation.
it is, or when Republicans say they want to revamp, let's say the welfare program, things of that nature, the Democrats need to step up and say, you know what, we do need to revamp it because it isn't helpful. You know what I'm saying? It sustains, but it doesn't propel. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But people need to be propelled into life, into that next level. You know what I'm saying? Right now, everything's like quicksand. It just keeps them in that same area, and then it becomes a generational piece, and it doesn't benefit the community as a whole. So instead of just going out there and pandering, which all the politicians do it, but if you look at the Democratic Party as a whole, is what they've done. This is why this time around didn't win. Don't pander. Don't just try to give these programs to the people and just sustain the people. Come to the people with a true plan of action that's going to uplift the
Man,
people and take them to the next
li-
level.
listening to that, I agree with it 1,000%. But I also get it just really made me feel like both of them are against us. You know, both of them are, but neither one of them are really for us as a people.
Well, but I say this still to that because again, at the end of the day, my standpoint, my whole philosophy on that piece is this, and I'll say it very directly. At the end of the day, to hell with government, man. It's all about
Yeah,
it's all about you, your family, your community. Get out there, be the best person you can be in your respective community. Um, Everybody is not built to be a leader, so you don't have to necessarily lead, but just look out for those in your community, do your part. Don't worry about the rigmarole that's going on in Washington, D.C. Just take care of your community. Point blank, period. Take
that
care
was
of your
profound.
family. Point blank,
That was
period.
profound. That was the sound bite right there. That was profound, my brother.
No, it's just at the end of the day, that's what it's about, though. It's just because again, if you listen to the media, man, you'll get so caught up in it, almost like you're watching a football game. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and it
You
seems,
get so
and it's
hyped up and you're agitated, you're upset, your
it
blood
almost
pressure's
comes
high.
across. It almost seems like they do it on purpose, and they just it's like a distraction, just keep us focused on things that is not going to really matter for us.
Like
And
I,
in the meanwhile, they're just getting wealthier and wealthier.
yeah, like I mentioned to you a couple of episodes ago, I'm like, when was the last time you heard a politician say, I'm going to go to Washington to legislate because we need to pass laws to do X, Y, Z. Everybody's saying I'm going to Washington to fight against this Democrat. I'm going to Washington to fight against that Republican. I'm going to make sure that they don't win and push their agenda. But I'm like, if you guys are constantly doing this, who's passing the
Right,
legislation?
right.
Where's the voice of the American people being heard? You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? What's going on? And that's what it's all about. And that's to me is the distraction itself. It's all about power. Somebody staying in that seat for 30, 40, 50 years or whatever. That's what it's
right,
about. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So they're going to constantly throw the meat out there to the wolves and say, you know what, you guys fight amongst yourselves. You guys keep on
Yep.
fighting. I'm going to go rah, rah, rah over in Washington for us and go fight against this side or that side. And it just becomes a big game at the end of the day to
I
keep
mean,
that
it's
person.
almost just like the gangbanging situation where, you have these gangsters going at each other. You're blood, you're Crip, you wear red, I wear blue, and now we're shooting at each other, and there's not much production coming out of it. So
Yeah,
it's like we're just gonna set it up for you to kill yourself.
exactly. And that's more or less what it is. It's just like it's just one big game. If you really think about it, it's one big
Right.
game. You know what I'm saying? And
Right, but at the end of the
uh,
day, it's about economics and wealth. That's the thing. They're getting wealthy. So that's another different feel from just I'm just going off of how it feels to me. Like this man is capitalizing financially off of being president.
I think, but to me, it's like this. So to me, in today's society, honestly, I think it's less about race and it's more less about race and more about money and power. You know what I'm saying? If you have money and power, I think it's just a matter of I think it's more leaning towards that than anything else nowadays.
Definitely
And
follow the dollar, and you're gonna see what's going on. But it's like the wealth gap is so far between. We have a lot of people of color with a lot of money, but how much more do they have with a lot of people with a lot of money?
yeah, but
And so yeah,
I think today though, honestly, if we put more energy
true. I already see where you're
into
going.
into no, honestly, just if we put more energy as a community into
Yeah,
just doing instead
right.
of constantly trying to
You're right.
compare ourselves to another group constantly.
You're right.
This is more, this is less, this is more, this is less. We've been doing that for decades and it hasn't gotten us
Right.
anywhere.
Right.
I
You're
think
right.
as it stands today, it's all about, you know what? There are so many tools nowadays to help bridge that wealth gap. So many tools, but we got to do the work to get there. You know what I'm saying? You still have to do the due diligence to understand those tools and how to use them, so on and so forth. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think
But
it's a
there's
lot of I think it's a lot of unity amongst us going on. I think it's just, but that's definitely not something that's going to get heavily promoted. And it's probably far in between, but it's definitely happening. I think we just need to build momentum on that as far as working together, sharing resources with each other, and pulling each other up, you know?
most definitely, most definitely. You know what I'm saying? I think we can do that. I think honestly, when it comes to the media portion of it, remember shows like Teen Summit?
Yep.
If you had shows like
Right.
that coming back on TV to where kids had something a little bit more positive to kind of look at and
Right.
kind of
Right.
gravitate towards, I think that would help. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
It's just it's really going to take honestly that village that people always talk about as far as this
Right.
generation of kids. It's going to take the village to really raise these kids because we can't
Right.
expect the media to do it. The internet's
Right.
definitely not going to do it. Social media, you know what I'm saying? Monitor what your kids are looking at on the internet, and just be parents and be leaders. You know, like I said, in your households, in your communities. That's what it boils down to.
Right.
If we are doing that, Washington will have less of an effect on our communities in a negative way. If we are leaders in our own respective communities, period. You know,
Absolutely.
so you out there on the west, we down here in the south, you know, it's gonna start getting hyped again probably in the next 6 months because you got the midterms coming up in 26. So it's gonna be
And I
interesting.
seen it on another note. It's kind of a bridge away from what we're talking about, but it's in another area. I seen that they say Africa or Ghana is the leader of a lot of black people going back to Africa, and they say they're giving them money and grants and all types of things. So it seems like they're trying to get black people to come back to Africa. That was pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I saw that too. That would be interesting. You know what I'm saying? But folks need to realize it's Africa. It- it's
Right,
Africa. You know what I'm saying? It ain't Miami. It ain't Dallas. It ain't LA.
right,
It's
right.
Africa. So it's different. You know what I'm saying? It's
It's
gonna be
different.
different. You know what I'm
It's
saying? You
different.
know, and so don't get me
And
wrong.
that
It
was
might be the
my I wonder it makes me actually I wonder how Africa is actually. You know?
it might be the greatest. Somebody moving back there might end up being the best decision they ever made in their lives. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But for the average start, just going across my mind, first thing goes through my head is it's Africa. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be different. Heck, I live in a doggone in the countryside here, just outside of Atlanta, and there's some interesting things that I come across in the woods. You know
Right,
what I'm saying? I can
right.
only imagine what I'm gonna see in Africa. So, but I've seen
Hmm.
different videos I've watched about Africa, and it looks dope. You know what I'm saying? It looks
Yeah,
dope. Can't front. It looks
I
dope.
mean, what's from what as far as from what I see on videos and whatnot, it seems like what's the difference from America? Because you have some that is very, very wow, like this is great, and then you have some that's terrible, but I'm like, that's the same thing in America.
Right. Right. Everything over here, all the roads here not paved in gold.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So
You got some places where you don't want to walk down the street.
exactly, exactly. But what I'll say is this though, man. We don't know what the next 4 years is gonna hold. All we can do is try to be as optimistic as possible and hope for the best. But love him or hate him, you know what I'm saying? Donald Trump won not once but twice. You know what I'm saying? He gave the establishment in Washington, D.C. the middle finger. And then this time around, he actually gave him the middle finger again, but then he twisted it to him. You know what I'm saying? When he beat him this time. So, you know what I'm saying? If you're in Washington, D.C., Congress, Senate, whatever the case may be, try and work with the administration, see what progress, if anything, can be done to truly work on behalf of the American people. Um, like I mentioned before, Trump doesn't want anything but greatness and good deeds attached to his legacy. So take advantage of the situation, Democrats. Work with the Republicans on common sense solutions. And I challenge the Republicans to do this with the very same thing. Work with the Democrats as much as possible. We're at a certain inflection point, I think, in American history to where we can either do something really good or
Right.
we can let things go all bad. You know what I'm saying? And so with that said, at the end of the day, either egos or wisdom are going to prevail in the United States of America. And hopefully it's going to be the wisdom part of it. Because if it's egos, you know, it's not going to get any better anytime soon. And so with that, that's what I'm thinking the next 4 years more or less is going to entail. And again, keeping that more optimistic point of view on what the next 4 years is going to hold. What's your thoughts, DJ King Majesty?
And that was really some profound stuff you dropped tonight, man. I agree. I'm just in straight up agreement with you. Egos versus wisdom, So that does one thing I'll say is America does seem to have that heartbeat where when things get really bad, we come together. 9/11, things like that. It's like, okay, now we can't really focus on our differences and let's put more focus on our similarities, you know, and how everybody wants to win, everybody wants to be successful, everybody wants their families to do well, you know. So that's the truth. If you, whatever you focus on is going to grow. So are you going to focus on positivity, or are you just going to, you know, there's really no other way to go.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? It really isn't. And again, I implore everybody, don't get upset, don't stay upset, don't allow it to get you upset. It isn't worth it at the end of the day, for one. But two, in 4 years, we'll have another opportunity at this, and hopefully the Democratic Party can get their act together and really decide, like I mentioned before, are they going to allow a sliver, literally less than 1% of the Democratic Party, to dictate the prioritization of the different messaging? Or are they going to listen to the Democratic Party as a whole, that 99%, and listen to that bigger voice and actually go out here and start winning these elections again? So again, only time's going to tell. Who knows what's going to happen in 4 years, let alone what's going to happen in the next 4 days. So
Right.
it's going to be an interesting 4 years again. And it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun. I think a lot of great things are going to happen. A lot of bad things are going to happen, as it always does every 4 years. But with that said, we'll always stay together as a community, as a country, as a whole, no matter what, regardless of what it is. We'll persevere as a country. That's my thought on that. And with that said, DJ King Majesty, I thank you as always, my friend. It's been a pleasure. And look forward to speaking with everybody as we go through 2025. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot in the news that we could speak about. With that said, we thank you guys for coming out, watching us again today. Everybody have a great evening, and we'll talk to you guys again real soon. Thank you.
Bless.
Peace.